Oh no, this is the Christmas lights.
Wowza! You've literally blown my pumpkin reveal out of the water, Dan. So thanks for that, mate.
No, I just see on the start of your video that you're on about doing your pumpkin reveal, and as I'm making my video now, I thought I would
show it off.
Show you my pumpkin, see what.
Put me to clean, mate.
Charge just to help me out. Yeah, they work harder than I do. I just walk around filming it all and pretending that I'm important, and they do all the hard graft for me.
I saw you had a photographer down the other day. You're getting a bit too big for your
Yeah, I know. I'm turning into Mr. Plant Geek.
She's got incredible vision, my mum, and she was just like, it's going to be like this, and then that's how the garden's going to come down, and this bit's going to sweep round here and create this amazing thing with the dingly. And I was like, really? Okay, cool.
And some of them ask me, what does it mean when you're chuffed?
Yeah.
You can't actually hear me speak, innit?
Yes, I did actually mean to say that to you.
Well, that's good, mate, because I spent the whole... So basically, what everyone was doing was having a lovely time watching Ground Force.
And you were chatting to yourself.
And I was just chatting to myself.
Yeah,
we were planting the garlic bulbs and the garlic and the onions of the day, and I said, there's a top and a bottom, and if you plant it upside down, it won't grow to Australia. It will just take a lot longer. It's...
I started my Eat the Blatant books with Bear Rabbit and Time Adventures.
I don't think I've ever read them.
Then you've missed out, mate.
Hello, hey there. How are you all doing?
You didn't really think that I'd do a Halloween special about dressing up, did ya? You'll be joking.
Yeah, so he just loves it, and he could tell you where everything is in the garden. He'd show you where the potatoes were, he'd show you where the courgettes are, he'd show you where the carrots are, he'd tell you not to touch stuff because they're not ready.
Really?
We've been harvesting pumpkins. He says, you can't touch that one one's not ready.
He's in charge of this.
Oh yeah, he project manages me.
Yes, our allotment site took part in a study called Pea and Poo in the City, which was run by the London School of Economics, and they went to several allotment sites in London and found that our toilet had the best quality poo in London.
Congratulations. What did you get for that?
Nothing, but we did.
You talking about leaving some of your lawn growing is something I definitely want to start doing to still have a place for bees, especially.
You'll have to be prepared though, because when the kids get hold of that whole idea about leaving your lawn growing, I mean, if the dandelions sometimes do get quite unruly, but if anything's flowering now in my garden, I'm not allowed to take it down, basically.
It's gotta stay. Should there be smoke? Where's this smoke come from? There was always smoke.
Hello, Lee. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Not too bad. Do you know what? It's so good to see you.
It's been a while. It's been quite a bit of time, hasn't it?
I'm very well, thank you. This is really exciting. It's a great idea.
So, yeah, it's really fun trying to just find those people that are just a little bit different, doing something unusual with plants. And that was
find, I think having a purpose to grow is a really great way of getting young people involved.
We do the 5-minute count. Hello, is that better? Is that better for you? Because you didn't bother to turn his microphone on. Is that a bit better? I didn't turn the microphone on. Sorry about that. Welcome, anyway, to the show. Very excited to be here. It's Monday. This is the day for the news, and you, ladies and gentlemen, can call in on 0742 357 4520 and tell me what you've been up to. Facilia. Or Pacilia, if you just read it off there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on.
Oh, I can't hear you, Anon. I've done something wrong with the thing. Anyway, elephant poo is what I got.
Good evening, Lee. How are you?
Great, mate. Your signal is always terrible, but I'm good, my friend. Excuse me. You got an allotment? When I go, don't put artificial grass on top of me, all right?
You got to get composted, Lee.
Yeah, see who is about tonight. Mr. Suggs, hello, how you doing? Have you been saving every live show? Every live show has been saved, Mr. Suggs. Mike's not on. Mike's on now, mate. It's on now. Who else is about tonight in the comments? Simon Jetson. Ooh, Mackie. How you doing, everyone, tonight? I've got some stories for you, all right. Tonight, we have 4 different stories to go through in the next hour. I'd love to hear from you as well on the show, so please do get in touch. The phone lines are now open, and also you can, as always, come chat on screen to me throughout tonight's show. Tonight's show, we are talking about 4 different stories. The first one is, have men finally lost the plot? Well, probably, according to this show, yes. Why female-owned allotments are booming is one story that's been kicking off in the news. Obviously, we're going to follow up a little bit on last week's Pete chat from Thursday. That's coming up later on in the show, so let me know in the comments what you think about that. A lot of conversation going on over the Twitter, and also Monty Don, I don't know, did we mention this last week? Monty Don faces backlash after urging gardeners to stop using Pete. Like, why are we not necessarily had much backlash from this, us do and talk about it? No one cares. No, yeah, I mean, on the Twitter, everyone chatted about it. Also, later on, Dad suffers horror injuries after setting himself on fire in a Freak Garden accident. Something fun to carry on the night. And also, how to boost your mood both indoors and outside with plants. That's also coming up on tonight's 1 hour. Let's call it a special. Shall we? Let's call it a special on tonight's show. Lisa's in the house. Good evening, Lisa. just finished my 1920s housewife jobs. Good. That's always good to know. You allow your permission granted. Take a rest now. Take a rest. Private joke tonight, team. Mark says the Pete issue is going mad over Twitter. Consumers want Pete free, and the industry is being slow to change. Now, if you're not listening to last week's show, it went out on the podcast today. Everyone went out on the podcast today. If you don't know, there's literally the logo for it in the corner of the screen there. If you don't already know, this show goes out on a podcast, the best bits, and there are best bits. Don't worry about it. And today I put out the Pete or Pete free best of podcasts, because we got so much chitter chatter. There's a lot going on Twitter. This always seems to happen. I don't want to be like, a bit down about it, but this does seem to happen in these sort of things where you get a surge of interest. I mean, it must be surge, because we've been talking about this for tens of years. A surge of interest, and then all of a sudden it just sort of pitters down for Christmas. Pete, thank you. Pete is down. Pete, get it? Anyone? Oh, just me. And then it will pop back up again. just now and again will keep popping back up. I've had a lot of people messaging me. I think we might have said something about Pete and Pete Free. I think we said about Pete Free being more expensive. A lot of people saying actually sometimes it's coming under peat compost. Here we go. Jackson says peat free compost is about the same price as compost with peat in it. $13.99 for 150 litres. Doesn't seem too bad, does it? So that does seem to be the general consensus from something that we said last week. I must have mentioned that I thought it was a bit more expensive. Not necessarily the case. I didn't want to go straight into peat chat, but I should probably say that since we talked about it, seems that there was already a bit of a discussion when Monty has talked about it somewhere along the line without me even really knowing about it. But all of a sudden, and I tweeted this out the other day, I said, I'm fed up as much as sorry, dragging you into it. As much as I'm really good on this show, saying, oh, Monty Don, oh, Gardener's World, oh, couldn't I do more? Couldn't I do something Ash? As much as I'm very good at doing that, I had enough on Friday because I saw an article from Channel 4. We won't play the article because I thought it was a written article. It's not. It's from Channel 4. But basically saying horticulturist Monty Don faces backlash after urging gardeners to stop using peat. I don't know. Since even tweeting about this, I said I'm fed up. Fed up of people. Like, I'm really great at saying, oh, Monty Don don't do enough for the industry. Doesn't know the, you know. But he's tried to do something that we've done here, obviously on a bigger scale because it's Monty Don. And apparently he's getting backlash. Now, I've talked about this before. On my phone, I'm going to show you. For some reason, I bet there's a Monty Don story on here. Actually, there never is a Monty Don when I want to look for it. But for some reason, on my phone, I've got news. If I swipe on my phone, I get news. I get all sorts of random... I bet there's not a Monty Don story in here now. Because basically, if you don't already know, your phone listens to you. It listens to everything you say. And it basically... I mean, it brings up everything. Apart from Monty Don. Monty Don. I'm sure my phone will later on. I get all sorts about Monty Don usually. They're not going to show me any Monty Don stories tonight. Anyway, basically negative ones. And I get fed up of seeing it. Because I think he's trying to do something good, just like we tried doing here. Bigger scale, and apparently he's getting a backlash. I'm not sure who's getting the backlash from. All right, but that's been going on over the Twitter. People getting angry about that. I feel like he's brought up quite a bit. Gardeners World present the Monty Don is urging people to not buy mass-produced plants grown in peat, explaining that garden centres who stock them are actively choosing to do harm. Now, as we found out last week, at the ending of that podcast, is basically, you know, garden centres, it's very easy for us to say, hey, garden centres, hey, don't do that. And they can't really just turn, it's not as easy as them turning around going, all right, we won't. There's other things in play to stop it, other pressures, which obviously we don't understand enough about. Mark says, you phrased it perfectly. He is damned if he doesn't comment on industry issues and damned when he does, which I think is a real shame. And, you know, he's doing his thing. He's doing what he can. Rich says, I hoped to pop into Homebase and get a photo of the peat and peat-free compost I mentioned at exactly the same price. And look, here we go. In pops Rob. Sorry I'm late. Looking after the other half who's suffering from COVID-19. Well, please offer the other half our good wishes for a big recovery there. It's not great. It's not great, the old COVID, is it? Don't know if anyone knew that. So yeah, peat. Peat-free, the conversation has picked up again. Will anything change? Now, I do feel like we're at a certain point of the year, which is not the best time. We talked about it because it got mentioned on a gardener's ground force show. And amazing that Titchmarsh got backlash for promoting peat-based products. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. we picked up on it on Wednesday's show for the Ground Force episode. For some reason, something was talked about compost and peat. And it's not really the best time to talk about it because not massive amount of people are going out there and buying compost at this time of year. We need to pick it up, I think, February. That's where it needs to happen. And you might be saying, oh, well, surely we're going to ban it, aren't we? Sure, that's the whole point. I don't think after last week's show that that's going to happen anytime soon from things that are going on. But I think if Don's going to want to talk about it again, please, Mr. Monty Don, if you're watching this, please talk about it around February time when all the 3 million new gardeners, 3 million new gardeners that we got this year, think about starting up again. I saw a peat landslide on Facebook in Ireland today. Not sure if you've seen it. Trees sliding down a hill. Really? If you can get me the link to that before the end of the show, we'd love to see that. Send it to me on email, lee@skinnyjeangarner.co.uk, and we'll show it on the show. No, I didn't see that. I didn't see it. And Max, it's a good point, mate. Let's talk about it in February. I think I think honestly, I think after our show, you've forgotten IB's is Ian Beddoes. Yep. Right, Beddoes, you're confusing me. I'm sure I saw you pop up on Facebook earlier. Ian Maltos to me. It's Monday, guys. It's Monday. I feel like this hour's going to go really quick tonight. I'm just doing an hour this week. We've got loads going on. Oh, well, anyway, like the peat chat. I personally think it should be picked up in Feb. I personally think someone might be able to tell me as well why we do peat-free April. If anyone knows why we do peat-free April, let me know, because I feel like peat-free, it's too late by peat-free April, isn't it? Start at the start of the year. Get it kicking. Get it kicking, guys. Get it started. Starting year. So that's the first story tonight that I wanted to cover with you. The phone lines are open. If you've got anything you've been up to over the weekend, I'll be honest with you, I've not really been out in the garden. It's not been the best weather. I went kayaking, as I told Mark last week. A winner. Go outside. Got Oliver on the boat. But I didn't actually get out in the garden too much, which I know some of you got out in the allotment. Nice one. The weather was not peak for me. Wednesday again this week. I'm going to try and get out there and do what I can. But yeah, if you got out in the garden, if you manage to do something out in the garden or down the allotment, then let me know. Phone lines are open, or you can comment or do what you want. So yeah, the peat thing continues. That drags on. Not going to drag through Christmas, is it? Let's be honest. But Suggs at least says, I'm going to peat-free permanently except for ericaceous plants, says Mr. Suggs over there. Let me know if you're going to go peat-free this year. Let's move on to our next story tonight, because I realise we are flying through time, and I'm probably going to regret doing an hour. We usually feel like we're flying through it. We're flying through it. What I'm going to try and do on Mondays now is Mondays is going to be news night. Or any news from the weekend, anything you see that's going on, news on Mondays. Trying to get that schedule rocking. As always, Wednesday we watch a classic episode of either Ground Force or Thinking Victorian Kitchen Garden. Right. Next story tonight is, have men finally lost the plot? Now, I actually, Lisa put a post up. I'm not following anyone on Instagram anymore, but I do have a few people that I check up on, see what they're up to. And this is one of the articles I saw that Lisa commented on. I won't go through her comment right now, but I don't I think this is an article that our good friend Sean James Cameron talked on. So I'm going to look through it tonight, see what it's all about. Let's have a look. So do you want to share screen? Should we share screen tonight, team? Let's share screen. A lot to get through. Right, okay. All right. Have men finally lost the plot? Well, if you watch this show, then you know that, yes, that certainly is the way. Written by Matthew Appleby. Now, we must remember Matthew Appleby is here to be controversial sometimes, so let's see what he says. In Instagram generation, Barbara Good, rather... What? I've stumbled at the phone at first bit. An Instagram generation, Barbara Good, rather than the henpecked EastEnders character Arthur Fowler. Oh, okay. Is the allotment stereotype for lockdown 2020, a study from the Imperial College London has found. So you're saying we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the Imperial College London is for... I wonder how many people... Steve? You ever wondered how many women are on allotments? He's got a mask on. Yeah, we'll do a study on it. Okay, yeah. All right, mate, I'm doing a study. These days, good types, as famously portrayed by Felicity Kendall in the 1970s BBC sitcom The Good Life, fit the image of a grow your owner. Ian says, Barbara Good of The Good Life. Or I would only know if I watched The Good Life, Ian, and I've never seen it. So the grow your owner, rather better than the bloke avoiding indoors by hiding in the shed down the plot. I'm guessing that's what happened in The Good Life. Dr. Tilly Collins and fellow researcher Alan Fletcher, busy year, have found 63.7% of London's much in-demand allotments are rented by women. And the National Allotment Society estimates that half of all holders nationally are female, compared with 20% in 2003 and 2% in 1973, when the grow your own boom began. Okay. Dr. Collins believes that a major reason behind the female takeover is because many men have lost their place in society. There's a decline in pubs. Sure. An increase in divorce rates. And more men are socially disconnected. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that. It's like socially disconnected. Socially disconnected, are we? As if we are, as he talks to himself. in a shed. Allotments are space so many men used. The undertaking of what an allotment was for was largely about food provision and providing for your family. Oh, I'm providing for my family. But what it actually delivered was a space in which you felt productive and controlled degrees of interaction with people around you. Men are losing that. Partly because it's hard to get an allotment. What? Waiting lists are growing again. With 9 in 10 councils experiencing, and put in the comments if you've got a plot next to you that is empty. With 9 in 10 councils experiencing an increase in demand during the coronavirus. You have to be established in your community to even bother applying. And then you have to wait a long time. What? What? You have to be... Is that serious? You have to be established in your community to even bother applying. Oh, okay, I get it. A single divorced man in rented accommodation may not be in the same place long enough to wait. Okay. Well, what sort of summer do these two have? While men's mental health declines. Oh, here we go. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I started reading this story and it just gets more ridiculous every time. And I've not even got to Sean James Cameron's part yet.
It's not an easy article to read by far. Yeah, especially when you're reading it out loud. But when the article came out, it was being all passed around, but not because of what the article was saying, but because of the stereotypes that are going on in that article, which is worrying.
Well, I mean, I've not even got to the women's bit yet, but it doesn't really paint men in a great picture either.
No, but that was something that I was going to tell you. I don't know if I've told you the story. I told it on my podcast when I met a gentleman on my allotment as I was leaving one night during the first lockdown. And I kind of wished I hadn't spoken to him or anything because I ended up very annoyed with him. And the reason was he was going on to me that how women should be on the allotment. And my first thought was, I'd try and find out why he thought that. And he sort of said, well, an allotment was a place for men to go and escape the stresses of everyday life and leave the women at home, escape their families and stuff. And I was, I'm going to swear here just to show how annoyed I was incredibly pissed off with this bloke for saying this because I did not think that was on at all. So I challenged him and I said, well, don't you think it is for all nowadays? And the fact that men do want to spend time with their families and bring it down to the allotment or bring their wives down because they can do something together as a family means that these allotment sites can keep going and not close down. He didn't like it when I pulled him up on that because I think he thought I was going to agree with him, but I couldn't agree with his philosophy there.
That's very, I don't even know if I want to say old school. So it seems like a diss on older people. It's not normal, is it?
Yeah, well, I kind of asked him, did he leave his wife at home and what have you? And he went, oh no, I can't get on with women for some reason.
I wonder why.
And that's exactly what I said when I walked off.
You don't get on with her indoors, I reckon, mate. That's what you would have said.
Well, clearly not. But I thought that sort of mentality was confined to the history books with most people. So it was really eye-opening to see this going on.
This whole article is mental. I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand someone that would write this. It doesn't make any sense at all.
I feel that the article was jumping on. I don't mean to sound sexist with this, but jumping on the woke bandwagon and sort of saying, here we are, women are trying to be more equal and doing what men can do just as good, etc., etc. All of which is true, but I felt that article was more for that market as opposed to being an actual article about an allotment site.
This is something that surely no one's ever thought about an allotment, right?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't really notice it. I guess in days of past it was very much like a gentleman's club where it was just male men down there. But my experience with allotments is it's always been a pretty fair mix of male, women, families. Just completely normal to me to have anybody and everybody down on the allotment side.
Maybe way back when it probably was more males to begin with. But I can't imagine. Possibly. I can't imagine anyone saying, "Oh, it's totally changed now, isn't it?" I hate allotment now because of indoors is coming outdoors.
Yeah,
I don't get this article, and the further I get into it, the more ridiculous it is.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the message of the article is lost with the writing. I'm probably going to offend the writer now with saying that, but that's just how I felt with it.
Maybe. Lisa says in the comments, Rich, It's completely not normal.
I mean, I guess I just thought men were a bit more forward thinking these days, and I'm a bit gutted at myself for not recognising it. Well, I kind of guessed it still goes on, but I just thought an allotment site was going to be a bit more freer, a bit more accepting.
Come on. I mean, I think this article's ridiculous, but your experience with one person is not a positive one.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a good experience. I mean, you know me probably better than most people, and it takes a lot to really annoy me. And the fact that he was just saying I walked away from him, which I never do, really did push my buttons.
Well, I don't know, mate. It's a strange one. Mark Mackey has told me to be careful with the next paragraph, so I'm not really sure what the next paragraph holds. But yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It is an interesting article.
I just
to say the least.
I just feel like it doesn't, like, I don't see the need in it. I don't really understand the need in this article. I don't get it. I mean, it's done its job. I suppose it's done its job because it's got people talking about it. I've seen people talk about it on Twitter, and like I say, I saw Lisa mention it on Instagram, which got me to look it up and read it. And I do believe that Sean James Cameron did mention that he'd wrote in it. I can't imagine he's gone in hard on it. So we'll see what he says.
I mean, I'm wondering how long this change that it's reporting has been going on, because I've had an allotment, how long now? I've been on this one 6 years, and there was a couple. How long have I been married? That's probably a better way to tell.
What of indoors, mate?
Indoors, yeah. 2014. So I got my first allotment in 2012, and I've always noticed, there was an equal mix of male, female in the last decade, shall we say? Then.
Also,
Also,
it's saying that there's not enough allotment sites, but they've been saying this for absolutely years, and there's always plots free. I don't know about your. Actually, I don't know about your allotment. I bet you've got plots around your way that's free, isn't it?
I can't say I've noticed any that are free, but I've heard there's been a huge demand in people wanting more allotments lately. So perhaps that's drived it up. But then I don't know if you heard my live show on Sunday, yesterday and last week. A friend of mine called Kevin, he's recently taken on an allotment.
Yes.
And his plot that he's taken on, now this is actually his second plot because he co-worked another one. But his plot that he took on has been unused for about 18 months, 2 years.
Well, it sort of just shows it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it depends. I mean, I think London-wise, you might struggle to find a plot. That's probably more a London-centric thing.
Possibly. I think there's lots of cases where allotments weren't in demand during probably the 90s and the noughties. So they started closing a lot of allotment sites down because they were just going to waste, and then building on them.
Yeah.
And now I think it's came back to bite them because there's been a sudden resurgence. Certainly 2008 there was a resurgence. It died off a bit. Probably 3-4 years ago it started to die off, the interest in it, but now it's came back again this year.
Yeah, that's true, mate. That's true. It's the most ridiculous thing is it said. I think the funniest part already that's been said is in this is. Hang on, let me just find it so I don't misquote it. I won't do that. Hang on, where is it? Something about men not being able to get allotments as much because they're not in one place for that long. Oh, here you go. A single divorced man in rented accommodation may not be in the same place long enough to wait.
Well, I don't know about you, but when I was single, I didn't exactly move very much.
Well, Dr. Collins thinks, if you're single, Yeah, ma'am. You're moving.
No. Couldn't afford to move.
I don't know, mate. It's a strange one, this one.
Yeah.
I've gone down a rabbit hole now. I can't stop this article now, but I've started talking about it, so it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one open for debate.
Well, that's what we're here for. Mate, thanks for calling in.
You're welcome.
And
You take care.
I'll speak to you soon. See you, dude.
Cheers, dude. Take care. Bye.
Mr. Richard Suggett there calling in about today's article. 07423 574 520 if you want to comment on this article tonight. Good evening, Dan. Welcome to the show. Mr. Jackson says the allotment near me is full of men over age of 65. If you want to go on the waiting list, you'll have to wait 5 years. They're living in the 1950s. Yeah, I mean, 5 years is a long wait around your area. I'm surprised that there's such a long wait around that way. Good evening, Liam, as well. Hello, how are you doing? Mark says, Matthew Appleby, the author, is just going a bit Daily Mail. Needs to calm down. He also wrote the Monty Tom Backlash article. Oh, where he gets 2 mentions tonight. Nice one. I want to read the rest of this article tonight because I just want to see all your comments. Let me know. 07423 574 520 or click the link if you want to talk about this tonight. I think it's such a strange article to chuck out there. And I just wanted to talk about it and see what you thought on the show. Right. So let's continue this. Oh, here we go. Hello.
Hi, Lee. It's Lisa.
Oh, I'm really sorry. We're not actually taking any women calls tonight on the show.
Are you being sexist?
Yeah, this is Monday Sexist Day.
Oh, okay. I'll hang up. Bye.
No, please don't.
I thought whilst we go through the women's section, we would talk through it together because I feel so strongly about this.
Yeah, well, this is the reason I talked about it because I saw on your Insta today about it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
It is really interesting. And what really got my back up was the fact that he was going on, where did it say in the article? Somewhere about women suffer from empty nest syndrome.
Yeah, I ain't read that bit yet.
That was really not good. I mean, firstly, I don't know how the article even got published. Anyone that I've spoken to has said, how did this guy actually get this article published? And it just feels like he has such 1920s views of women. I mean, okay, also what he said about men in there is not right. And I completely agree with Richard's comment, how pissed off he was when he was speaking to that male allotment holder, with his views. But yeah, it's just, I think this article's just caused uproar and it really upset me from the point of, I'm not suffering from empty nest syndrome. I have a 2-year-old, I hold 2 businesses down, I run a house, and I still find time for a passion and a hobby because mentally it is good for your mind and your well-being. So how can he just paint an image and tarnish all women with the same brush? It's just really awful.
It's very black and white, like this is definitely how all women are and that's it.
Yeah. And I don't know where he's got that perception from, whether he's just gone around a couple of allotments or seen, I don't know, something and thought, oh, well, this must be all women or all allotment holders, all women that garden or have plots. It's just, where is he getting his research from?
I don't know.
That's the worrying thing.
I don't know. Well, Dr. Collins, by the sounds of it. I don't know who Dr. Collins is.
No, neither do I. I mean, I think Sean, if Sean's watching tonight, does he have a little bit of an insight? Because he knows quite a lot of people in the media. So, does he know, where she's getting her stuff from or giving him the stuff?
I'll text him and ask if he knows Dr. Collins.
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, I just, from a women's perspective,
Yes.
I just found it really, really upsetting. And that's why I did my post
Yes.
that you came across. But yeah, I just had to get it off my chest and get it out there and have a really good rant about the situation.
Well, I just think it's ridiculous because I mean, it's probably easy for me to say because I'm a man, but it's not something I've ever really thought about before. I just see I've always seen allotments as places for everyone, and
Yeah.
and garden for I've never really thought about it before. But maybe because I'm a man, like I don't know. Is it something that women think about? Is it like?
No, I mean, when I've ever thought of allotments, I've thought of them more as like family friendly. But I did get, so I actually only up until this year I started gardening and growing like personally for a hobby.
Yeah.
And I actually went up onto a friend's allotment, not far from here, to go and visit hers for the first time. And she shares it with her husband. So the two of them have been doing it for 12 years together as a hobby. But she said that she's one of the younger ones, and she's 59, and James is 57. And she said there's majority, 95% old boys up there, and they do not like it when women come up onto the plot. They get really, really aggy. And when I went up, I got stopped in the car park and looked at, as if to say, I think you're lost and you need to turn around and go back onto the road.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no, I'm just here to see my friend. I'm going to walk down to the plot. And he said, oh, okay. But even then, thinking about that experience, that was a bit like, okay, that's not really right. So yeah, I don't know whether it's just, I think Stuart had mentioned something about, Stuart Jackson said the allotment near him, all the men are over the age of 65 and they think they're living in the 1950s. But yeah.
Well, it sounds like this article was wrote in the 1950s, so so I don't know.
I don't think it's very fair to men and women. And that's me being like sitting on the fence. I can see the views from men's side, what you've said in there tonight, and obviously standing up for the women as well.
Yeah, it starts to go into like perhaps the rise in female Instagrammers is evidence of this. Is that evidence?
No, because I think there's such a huge community out there, and I don't know. Maybe he's jumping on a whole. Since COVID, there's been a huge influx of female gardeners on Instagram, but I think it's just modern day people using the platform for something good and beneficial, because there's a community on there and there's a really lovely supportive community. So it's just working with modern day technology and putting two and two together.
I was going to say, that's just Instagram growth just on its own. It's not necessarily just because of that, is it? It's just
No.
I'm sure if you look at it, then there'd be probably equal amount of men I don't know, male Instagrammers.
I mean, there was something on there about women gardeners taking more selfies than males.
Is there?
I think somewhere down the article,
Oh my
because
God.
I saw this in someone else's post, and now I know loads of male gardeners and growers that, you know, they're really proud to show off their plot and take a photo of themselves on their plot or what they've been doing or growing, and it's just really lovely to see. And I associate people taking photos of themselves on their plots with that's a face behind a brand or someone that is showing off the hobby that they love. It's not anything bad.
No, it doesn't. I really don't like this article. I can see why people getting really angry about it, but then maybe that's the point. I don't know.
I think some journalists go out there to put content out to cause a huge amount of controversy, and I think he knew that this would cause an uproar and it would just get loads of people speaking and then spark off loads of different, maybe separate articles, separate conversations. So yeah, I think they were very clever in knowing what they were doing. Still don't know how it got published, but I think they were doing it for something else to spark off different conversations and different things.
It's just not necessarily positive, which is what gardening should be about.
No. Yeah, I think it's associated also with mental health and well-being, and something that you can get the whole family doing and families should do together, and that there's something for everyone in it, not just, you know, the way that he's described certain things within that article.
Well,
so yeah,
I don't know what to say really, Issa, but rubbish, really.
It's a good conversation chat for Monday night's podcast, isn't it?
Well, it is.
It's almost like go hard or go home.
Really,
Hit it with the good stuff Monday night.
Well, yeah, if we kick it off well, start the week good.
You certainly have done that.
Lisa, thanks for calling in and let us know what you
You're
think. It's good to hear. It's good to hear a female voice on the show.
Female perspective. You're more than welcome.
If not,
Keep going strong.
if not, it'd just have been a load of middle-aged men talking about women.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to even it out. That's why we've got to be in there.
Thanks, mate.
All right, take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for Lisa for that. Like I say, with tonight on the show, we're starting. I think this could be the only, because we're only doing an hour tonight. Could be the only subject of the show tonight. But we're going through this article that's got everyone speaking. Have men finally lost? I mean, even the article title. Have men finally lost the plot? Why female-owned allotments are booming? I've just seen in the comments 0742 357 4520 if SJC wants to call him, because he is in part of this. I've just seen him pop up in the comments. So let's just quickly read a little bit more into this. Thanks, Lisa, for your call. It's good to get your opinion on it. Where are we up to? While men's... Oh, my God. Okay, thank God. Hello?
Hello, Sean James Cameron.
Sean J, how you doing, mate?
Do you want to continue carrying on, and I'll just listen in because I've already just popped in the last 60 seconds.
Well, you're about to come up in a second, so we'll just read this little bit. Go
on.
While men's mental health declines as they stare at the four walls of their bedsits, women are engaging with the soil to restore their equilibrium. These green spaces are now known to be good for people's physical and mental health, whether they're digging on their allotment or not. Just relaxing there makes them feel much better. Women are wanting something productive to do after child rearing or with children or grandchildren. Fewer and fewer people have private gardens and more are moving into flats. It seems the only way people can afford home living is to have smaller gardens. Dr. Collins believes there is also a teaching element to women's allotment growing, adding women have more of the patience to go through agricultural cycles. They like to demonstrate how things grow. And then it's Sean James Cameron. Sean James.
Yeah, do you want to read it?
Okay, I can read your bit. It's not as bad as the rest of the article, is it? Because I've not actually read your bit yet. Sean?
Yeah.
Sean James Cameron, who started allotmenting at, how do you pronounce that? Treherbert in South Wales in 1990. Remembers the time before men lost the plot. It seems to me you have to set up an Instagram account to get an allotment these days. A lot of the old guard seems to be dwindling, and now there's a lot of new people on site, says the allotment channel founder, who now grows his own in South London. They take their information from YouTube rather than other people. When I started, you asked the old boy, who say things like, don't plant sweet corn there because the badgers will eat it. There used to be men in their shed with a cup of tea. Where still is with you, Sean? Putting the world to rights. But maybe the world's changing. I've certainly noticed there are a lot more women on plots in their late 20s and early 30s, pre-family. Their motivation is where food comes from and making 100% sure it's organic, especially this year when it's been quite difficult to get hold of food during the lockdown.
Right. Let's just start by saying I never said the word pre-family.
It doesn't sound like something.
The line I really wanted him to put in, the thing is, when you do an interview with somebody, you can't control what goes in. And one of the lines I wanted to go in is that I felt that this Instagram generation, whatever that is, were different in the fact that I feel they turn up, they do their plot, and they go home again. Whereas the old guard just sit in sheds and talk for hours, and they'll talk for 3 hours, and then they'll dig for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Do you mean
but
like
that line wasn't put in? I was approached to be in it, and I felt that the article, because I've done my research into this since, and apparently they went to less than 50% of allotments in London, which I think is a poor research model.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name now, Dr.
Collins?
Yeah. She was on the radio last Tuesday, and within the first 2 minutes of her interview, she got some fundamental information about allotments wrong.
Oh, great.
And I tweeted her, and I questioned the way that they'd researched it, and that I didn't have confidence in what they had done. Because I feel if you were to ask people in the north, they would have a completely different view. I think this is very much London-centric. So I was quite surprised to be in an article that was associated with the comments that she came out with.
Well, to be fair, yours part is the most, and I don't usually say this about you, Sean, but yours part is the most sensiblest part out of the whole article.
Well, I was approached about, and the simple question was put to me: do you feel there are more women on allotment sites than men? And comparing to when I started 20, 30 years ago, there are.
Mm.
And the thing is, humour sometimes doesn't come across, because I say quite a lot of the time, I feel now that when you take on an allotment site, you have to set up a YouTube channel as well. But I feel that the new intake that has come for the last year or two are actually a lot better than the old guard.
Yeah.
Because they don't sit around for 2 or 3 hours, put in Two of the World to rights, and then go, oh, I better put my beans in. And the amount of work I've seen this year of people who have taken plots on at the start of, well, sort of had them before the lockdown happened, and have literally, in 6 weeks, turned their plots around, and they're finished.
Yeah.
I'm just about to enter my 4th year, and it's only 80% finished.
Do you reckon that's because of their community? Like, talking about like Instagram and YouTube and stuff, is it because that is their community? Whereas back in the day, the community was actually at the allotment, whereas now it's off the allotment almost.
It could be. If you go up to people and start sort of saying, you have those senseless conversations when you go up to somebody new in order to start a conversation to go, oh, what beans are you going to put in? And it just seems to be that people aren't interested in being a part of a community. I forget what the word is now. There's a hip word where you do things in real life rather than in virtual reality. There is a word to describe it. But I just find people facing or something. But I find that people are very much like, I don't really want to chat because I need to get on.
Mm.
And they're far more focused than the generation when I started to take on plots. So I'm really dubious about the results of this, especially when I found out that the person who's put a name to this article didn't actually do the research. She gave it to, as far as I'm aware, and I could be completely wrong, but from what I took from the radio interview, it was done by a first-year researcher. Well, nothing against her, but I don't think I would trust anybody to do anything like that, and unless I had controlled it.
You wouldn't go on radio about it if you hadn't had any control over it, would you?
Yes, but it's a big organisation that did this survey.
Right.
and sometimes you can come up with the answer you want by asking the wrong question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that is true.
So, and I understand there's another piece of research to be done on top of this, but I have no credibility. I have no confidence in this next bit of research because I don't have any confidence in the first bit that's come out.
No.
And in fact, I was seriously thinking, as the horticultural, as the allotment channel, maybe I should conduct the same survey, but do it on a national level. You can't approach 400 sites and then say that the other 150,000 people in the country, that it represents them.
No.
It's like, and we saw that from the Brexit thing. I work in TV land, and if you ask anybody in TV land, Brexit, it wasn't going to go through. That's because people weren't asking a wide variety of people. Because if you were in the M25, you thought Brexit it wasn't going to happen. If you were outside, the majority of the people felt that it was going to happen. So I think this whole thing is a lot of bollocks, to be honest. There's no polite way. There's no polite way to say it.
Well, I think everyone's sort of going down that road. You're right, though. Like, you can't really, especially if it's like London. If it's just, was it just a London allotments they looked at? Was it?
As far as I'm aware, well, that's what Matthew said when he approached me. That he felt that it was a London-centric survey.
Well,
but then she said in the radio interview on Radio 4, I think it was, on A Woman's Hour, that we interviewed less than half the allotment sites. Well, that's like me that's like you doing a survey on this show of the 10 people that tuned into it,
Yeah.
and then say the whole country
The whole everyone.
supports XYZ.
Yep. Ridiculous. And also, how did they contact these allotments? Email?
Well, I know. I think they would have. Well, if I was going to do this survey, I would do it through the Freedom of Information Act. But the problem is, a lot of allotment sites, and this is me just a generalization. Again, I would say over 99% of them don't have these stats.
No.
It's like our rents are due in the next couple of weeks, and I know if I went up to my chairman, Jeremy the First, and said, "Oh, could you give me the stats about male and female?" He would just guess because nobody keeps these. Maybe we should keep them, but then if you're going to keep about male and female, then do you go to the next step? How many heterosexuals, gay people, bisexuals, transsexuals do you have on a site?
Yeah.
It's
if they started asking it, you'd be like, "It's a bit of a weird question to ask." I'm only on an allotment.
It would be interesting to sort of see how many male, female age groups, and sort of do like a census every 5 years. But then what are you going to do with that information? Are you then going to say, right, just for the next 2 years, there are too many women on plots, so we're going to do positive discrimination? It's like, what are you going to do with that information other than just do a headline?
Yeah, well, write a decent article. I don't
know.
Well, I think, Sean, that you have come off very well in what can only be considered as a terrible article.
My initial response when I saw Twitter exploding on that Sunday, because I didn't even bother to go and buy a copy of the paper, to be honest. And when I saw Twitter, I was like, "Oh, what the hell did I say in my shed that day?"
Yeah, oh crikey, what did I say?
And then when I read it, I was like, "Whew."
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, the bit that I wanted to put across didn't make it into the article. But I just feel that the new generation, whether that's 20 or 30, or like I'm 46, and so I think I'm in the old guard now. But like 20s and 30s, they just turn up, they do it, and they leave.
It's a new way of allotment, I suppose.
You know, maybe that element of going to ask, you know, John 6 plots down, what's the best beans? Maybe that doesn't go on as much as it did in the past. But then sometimes a lot of the old guard forget. When you take on a plot, sometimes it can be quite scary to go up to people that have been there 20, 30 years ago. Because there's so many stories that, you know, the new person went and asked the old boy in the shed for some advice and was told to go away.
Yeah, but that
in a not too polite way.
Those were but those were the days like before Google come along, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes,
like technology sort of almost is replacing that.
Yes, but what you get from speaking to people on the plots from 2 or 3 doors down, you'll get a lot of misinformation. You know, don't put sweet corn in this site because 10 years ago the squirrels came. Yeah. So you do get a lot of clouded judgment. But sometimes you'll get gems where you'll get told, like I was told once, don't do red potatoes. They don't do well on this soil. So me being me, I'm going to do bloody red potatoes. And they didn't do well.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I told you so. Oh dear. Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. I do agree with you. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think when I was on my plot and we had a few people that we spoke to, a few of the old guard, it was good. I mean, not some long stories. Don't get me wrong, but it was good in that sense. I just don't know if it happens as much anymore because of technology.
Yes, but the whole purpose of an allotment, I feel, has changed definitely in the last 10 years. When you took a plot on, it was solely to grow veg for the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people take plots on, and I've got no issue with this, where half of it is grass and half of it is flowers and veg, because they want to use it as a way, and this is what people have said to me. I just took a plot on because I would just want to show the kids that things don't come in plastic bags in sort of at the supermarket.
Yeah.
Where I start to lose the will to live. Yeah. And I heard one of these stories today. In fact, I asked somebody on my old site. I put my head over the fence, you know, being part of the old guard,
yeah.
And said, "Who's got this plot in the corner?" And I was told a story, and I've heard this so many times, how a family take on a plot, and the child doesn't like ants, so they give up the plot.
That's a bit wishy-washy, isn't it?
I do get a bit weak in the knees when I hear those type of stories.
Yeah, that is a bit wishy-washy. I mean, come on.
So I think the fundamental use of an allotment has changed, and especially for this year, a lot of people have just, like, on the side that I'm on, 90% of the people that you never saw before turned up and did their plots. And then once they were done, they spent a lot of their time just sat there.
Yeah.
Because they realised allotments this year are like gold dust. In fact, when I was going to my plot, I wasn't actually telling people I was going because I felt a bit guilty that I was saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to go out to fresh air because I got some land and you have to stay in your high rise. And you can't come with me because you're not in my bubble."
You just pretend you pop to the shops for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, I've got to walk 6 miles for eggs.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well,
but I'm interested in the fact that this doctor, when I spoke to her on Twitter, she used a phrase which made my foot itch. I had to censor myself then because something was about to boil.
Oh, God.
So I queried her on. I said, "I'm rather concerned that you say that allotments are measured in chains when they're measured in poles and perches. And if you've got that incorrect, I'm dubious about the rest of your information." And she used this word, and she said, "Yes, I misspoke." And it's no, you got it wrong.
You got it wrong.
You didn't misspeak, you got it wrong.
I like
and
that.
What
mate.
else have you got wrong?
I misspoke a lot. Misspeak a lot.
But she shut down. But what I found interesting was she shut down the discussion in inverted commas really, really quickly,
Mm.
and it ended, which said to me, you know you're in the wrong. Because everybody that you've spoken to about this report and every radio interview you've done has been with people that don't know about the allotment world. So I think she's deliberately trying to not engage with people that know a bit more than what she does.
And that's why we've got
Because
you
they,
here, Sean.
because they would just pick holes.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's definitely an interesting one. But, thanks for letting us know your side of the story, Mr. Cameron.
There we go. I'll go back and finish watching the Vogue show now.
Sure. All right, mate. You don't have to say that. You could just say goodbye nicely.
Thanks for the text to tell me you were talking about it.
Thanks, mate. I'll speak to you later, all right?
All the best. Bye.
Bye, dude. Here we go for one. SJC, who was part of this. And honestly, I think it came across really well. I want to just finish off the article. I know I said now, but we're going to just crack on a little bit longer. I did see it. Dan called in. Dan, if you want to call in, just give your opinion tonight on the show. That's cool. A few people commenting throughout that. Sorry about the swearing if you're offended at all by that. Liam says, allotments are great for family. My son Harris loves it when we had one. Lisa says, I mean, a first-year researcher. They're asking for trouble. I mean, I don't understand. I really don't understand it. Surely allotments can do both. The SM world, as well as connecting with existing allotment holders. It could be the best of both worlds. Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. I just think that that times have changed anyway. Like we can't just look at gardening. We have to look at how everything's changed in the world, and technology a big part of it. When I first started gardening, that's one of the ways. And don't get me wrong, down our allotment, when I used to have an allotment, we used to have these the old guard, as you like to call them, which are great for stories and general bits. But we looked a lot on social media and Google and bits like that, asking people, asking. And that was 7 years ago. Like, look how things have changed since then. I feel Dr. had her own preconceptions before looking into this. It could have been that case. It could have been, well, I mean, who asked for this? Who asked for this to happen? I don't know. But it's almost like that, isn't it? A lot of swearing going on tonight. Yeah, I apologise for the swearing. He says, do we need to ban Suggett and Cameron for bad language? Probably should revoke their VIP cards for a little bit. Language is heating up. It's certainly a lot of motion. Technology, Ian says, technology means I can ask you and Sean and Suggett, whereas I wouldn't have heard of any of you without Facebook. It's true. It's true. Right, so I just want to finish reading this story to you, and if Dan don't get in, I'd love to hear your opinions on it and see what you think. But what happened here? I won't go through them people, but the National Allotment Society, Diane Appleyard, agrees life has changed. When it is predominantly men on sites, domestic roles were relatively defined. Now men probably have less time because they're doing more domestically. This is just a ridiculous article, man. Council data from Edinburgh to Brighton via Newcastle shows there are now greater numbers of women than men on many plots. But Dr. Collins suspects not all women are benefiting from the change. They are, by and large, quite middle class. I'd be interested to know how many work full-time or in nice part-time rewarding jobs. I laugh because it's so ridiculous. If someone come up to you and go, I do wonder about women, and no one clip this way. I do wonder about women, probably mostly middle class in the allotments, aren't there? But I wonder how many are full time or in, them nice part time rewarding jobs, huh? Ridiculous, man. This gets me angry reading this now. As studies have shown, women have different approach to ecology of their allotments. Use far fewer chemicals. I don't actually know anyone in the allotment world that use chemicals. I think it's just a general thing. with more I can't read that word, I apologise, of pollinator-friendly strips. Yeah, because men hate pollinator-friendly insects. This links to her view that for women, it's less about food production and more about feeling good about yourself. Well, I feel good about myself if I stop reading this article. It's doing my nutting. I don't know what you think, team. Ian says, a duck walks into a bar and orders 2 beers. I don't know if I should read this. He said, just put them on my bill. And that is the end of that, everyone. Interesting one, guys. I'd love to hear what you think on the comments after the show tonight. Please let me know. I would say let's talk about it again tomorrow, but I don't really want to talk about this one because I think it's such a ridiculous, apart from Sean's bit, who come pretty good from this article. I think it's just such a ridiculous article that that it's a shame. I've seen some of the people that are involved in it as well, which is ridiculous. It's definitely got people talking, hasn't it? Maybe not in the right way about gardening and allotmenting. But allotments are for everyone, team. They're for everyone. I don't know anyone that's thinking like this apart from these people in this article, minus Sean. And we know through what we do here on the Skinny Jean Gardener Show that garden's full with us, and we're happy about that. Just 1 hour tonight. 1 hour all week. Let's see how that goes. We're just testing a few bits. Plus, there's so much going on that I have not even spoke to you tonight about. Join me tomorrow once again, 8 p.m. I'd love to see you. Let's get chatting. Let's get talking. All about the gardening. Facilia. Or Pacilia, if you just read it off there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on.
Oh, I can't hear Anon. I've done something wrong with the thing. Anyway, elephant poo is what I got.
Good evening, Lee. How are you?
Great, mate. Your signal is always terrible, but I'm good, my friend. Excuse me. You got an allotment? When I go, don't put artificial grass on top of me, all right?
Are you going to get composted, Lee?
Yeah,